very similar type pattern. And if you like take a look above it, like, you know, we were just literally, we're banging our heads against the wall every time we're trying to park this thing. We're like, why are we arguing? Why are we arguing? And then finally when we opened up and communicated about it, we made it work. So it's real instructive the more that we're out kind of learning, because we get in the RV and sometimes we'll be driving. After the interview with Charlotte Gerson, we got in the RV. It's like, I love my job. And when you can say things like that, the exercise and the fitness just kind of comes right in. It's so easy. It's all just, it's put together for you because you finally have the time and you finally have the emotional and physical energy to be able to actually put it together. So you're able to just say, hey, this is a priority. I'm really feeling good. I'm out there, and now I'm going to take time for myself.
And a big thing for me was the routine. You know, when you're at home, you're always in a daily routine, and you just kind of get into this ritual, and you know, and you're always doing the same thing over and over again. Well, with us being able to be on the road and everything's changing, it's really neat because now I'm not always doing the same thing over and over again. So now I feel like I have the time to exercise. When I was at home, it's like, no, you know, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. So, you know, what can I tell them that can help them being at home? I was trying to give a point, and I can't give a point right now.
Set up pattern interrupts. It's really important. Set up little things. If it's like a hit on the face, I mean, not a face. That's not a face. A hit on the hand. I was thinking the next thing. Tap on the face, EFT type technology. What you can do is you can set up pattern interrupts. So if you're like going, you know, if you find yourself ever going for like corn chips, you know, that zombie inside of you that like in the grocery store, like suddenly like gets magnetically pulled to something, right? So if you find yourself, what you need to do at that moment is set up a pattern interrupt. And the pattern interrupt is easy, because that's something that you set one time. You know, for me, I used to host an open mic up in Bethel. You guys have been to Molten Java. There's a coffee shop up there. So I used to host an open mic, play guitar, sing, and all that sort of stuff. And I would go up there, and every Thursday, I would set up my guitar. I would set up the microphone. I'd set up the speakers. Everything was all set up, ready to go. And I would walk up to the counter like a zombie, and I would grab this brownie that was like right there, and it's this amazing brownie with like big chocolate chunks and all that sort of stuff. And I'd put it right on the thing, and I'd be like, all right, I want that, you know. And so I would take it back, I'd eat it, and I'd be like, oh man, you know, this is an amazing brownie. I'd play guitar. I'd go home, and I would be up all night long, not only because of the sugar, but because of the chocolate. And I would wake up with dark circles under my eyes, and guess what would happen in the morning? I'd be grumpy. What a surprise. Who here believes that our emotions are directly related to the food that we put into our body? Yes, thank you. Absolutely. So I would have these brownies, and I knew at one point it was becoming a problem because I couldn't control myself. If there's ever anything that you can't control yourself about, or you'll get out of work, or if you're sitting in an office or you're somewhere, and you'll go out to get it, and just like for that one specific reason, it's not that important. So it's not like the mail or anything like that. It's like a kombucha, or it's something like, you know, something maybe a cacao treat or something like that. If you're like getting up out to like get it, and you have nothing else to do, and you have better things to do, then that's probably something that you might want to work with. And so that was what was happening to me. So I would get that brownie, and I said, all right, you're not going to get the brownie. And I would go in, and you know how when you take something away from someone, they're like, oh no, I'm going to have it. Like a kid, you know, start temper tantrum. So inside of me, I had this temper tantrum, you know, and what I would do is I would go up and I'd say, I'm going to get this tea, and then I'd be like, tea brownie. And I'd put the brownie up, you know, tea brownie. I couldn't make it happen. So what I finally did was I said, all right, how can you reframe your mind to make this change? And so what I did was I asked myself a simple question. And the question actually really worked for me. The question was, you know, what's the better option here? And I said, all right, so every time that you go up to get that brownie, just ask yourself, what's the better option? So now I trained myself to ask myself a question, not to react. And so every time I'd go up, I'd walk up and I said, what's the better choice? And I'd look around and I'm like, oh, there's really not any good choices here, is there? And I'd be like, well, let me have a tea. And I would order a tea, and that kind of switched my mindset. Because we're trained to answer questions, right? So if I asked Anne-Marie a question, can you hand me that thing there? You know, she's like, even without me just like staging that or anything, she probably would just hand it to me because we're trained to answer questions. So when we ask ourselves bad questions, what kind of answers do we get? So what if we said, you know, why can't I get this project done for work? What happens? Well, it says, the reason you can't is because you had to take the dog out, the kids were running around, you're always late with stuff, so you know this might just be another time that you're going to be late with this. You know, there's something really nice on TV, 24, something like this. You know, so all these things kind of come into play, and you get all those answers, so you're affirming the fact that you have this negative sort of behavior. So if you ask yourself good questions, if you ask yourself questions like, what can I do today that was healthier than yesterday? That's going to get you some good answers, don't you think? Like, what can you do today or tomorrow that will be healthier than what you did today? That's where you're going to build your health platform from. Because what happens, particularly with raw food, and we write about it in the book, is that you're doing like 0% raw food and you're introduced to this, or maybe you've been doing it for a while and you've been bouncing up and down. You hear someone talk, you get excited, you go up to 100%, you stick there for three days, you go to the grocery store, and again that zombie's reaching for the brownie or the potato chips or something like that. And then what happens is you hit bottom, right? And then you're kind of trucking around bottom again. You're feeling bad, you're feeling guilty, you're feeling down. You're like, oh man, you're like, I can't ever do this. And this is the up and down diet protocol that we all see. It starts to look like a stock ticker. You know, like up and down, up and down, up and down. You know, you guys ever, and you know what that creates, right? You guys have seen day traders before, right? Yeah. Like, who here knows the day trader? We're like New Haven, Fairfield County, you know? We know the type of like stressed out kind of mentality. I used to work on the American Stock Exchange, so I saw these guys, not the day traders, but the traders all day long. They're gray and pale, and they all eat cheeseburgers, you know? So, because as a clerk, I had to actually go and order the cheeseburgers for them and bring them in. But this is what they do, and that's kind of what we're doing to ourselves. And if you can,
today, we're all here because we did a pattern interrupt.
I know. You did. Exactly, you did do a pattern interrupt. And here's the thing: if you can create a foundation of questions, or a question that you're asking yourself, then you're not going to spike anymore, because it's always going to be building upon what you've done before. So you can say to yourself, you know, if you go to a party and there's nothing healthy, you can say, well, what can I do to make this situation better? And you know, it may be eating something that you may normally not eat, but it's something you do, or you just don't eat, or whatever the answer is, it's all okay. It's just going to be better than, oh man, you know, why can't I have anything to eat? And then you get down, and then you look at this, and you're like, oh, forget it, because you can only walk by, like this, like lasagna, like 5 times before, like finally it's just like, you know, oh, and lasagna might not be a good example, but there's something that you can't walk by. Who here has something that they can't walk by like 4 times without actually having it on the 4th time? You know what I mean? Like, everyone's got it. Everyone's got it. But it's just a way to manage that, so you can put yourself in a position where you're moving forward, you're looking towards health, and you're not putting yourself in a position where you're down and feeling angry or upset about or guilty about what you've done. Because that really kind of wears on you. It really does. That didn't even answer your question.